Look, man, everybody been asking for it. Classic Dead End Hip Hop review.
Hey, look, we're doing class reviews now, thanks to you. But if you want to nominate, be responsible for nominating who we review and what we review, head over to the reward section. That being said, let's go.
Dead End Hip Hop classic album reviews for all of the exclusive patrons. These motherfuckers came together in '85 and I was born in '84, but I'll get into it. Dead End Hip Hop Patreon classic review. You guys voted on it. A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory. This is like second, third time, you know what I'm saying, that I actually ventured to this particular project. And I've said it amongst you guys before, so I already know I'm gonna catch heat from y'all. I am not maybe a particularly, big fan of A Tribe Called Quest. Like I don't like. I've gone back, I've listened to it, and I'm kind of like, okay, it was somebody back then doing music.
Damn.
Okay, but hold on.
Somebody back then doing music.
Yeah, but look. When I listen to this, to me, it sounds dated.
Okay.
It sounds 1991.
It does.
You too?
Yeah, this shit sounds
Yeah. Yo, wait, kid.
Just because it was yesterday for you, bro, like
It sounds dated as fuck.
Yeah.
you agree?
Yeah, it sounds dated.
It sounds dated.
So you like me on NWA, see?
It sounds dated.
Me and the Marauders don't, but this one definitely does.
The flows are dated, even though Q-Tip has kept his flow, and a little bit more modern, but he's pretty much the same. But it sounds dated, and from the first time that I listened to this in the late 2000s, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't grow up with this, so the connection that you guys, the three of you have, I don't have that. So
I'm here too,
oftentimes,
man.
huh?
I'm here too, man. Damn.
But I'm saying when I listen
You feeling
to it,
acknowledge me? You see that
Sure
shit?
did. Like, moving on.
I grew up on trial.
I'm here too.
I'm here too.
all y'all old motherfuckers in the room. I'm getting up there too though. But nah, man, like when I listen to this, I don't think that it's whack or nothing like that. But it's
better not.
No, because it's not whack at all. But I just have a hard time grasping why it's a classic.
Okay. So what do you think of the album? Let's get into the album. Lyrics, beats, go.
It sounds dated to me. Like it just, I don't know what it sounded like in '91.
It sounded like this in 1991. But the thing is, think about what else came out. What other album came out in '91? Public Enemy,
NWA,
Breaking Adams, Ice Cube. Okay, now think about all of those albums compared to this. Do any of them sound like this?
No, not at all. Okay, so I get that. So they were extremely unique, right, in sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so is that the only thing that makes an album a classic
that's
album?
a big thing. Okay, so the thing about it is when someone sounds unique these days, it's not that big of a deal because you kind of like you're looking for something that's a little bit unique. Back in those days, it was like when someone came out and sounded nothing like the other shit that was hot, it was a huge deal. You see what I'm saying? Because
I get that, and remember, we've had this classic conversation multiple times, and we always say sounding unique or setting a standard for a period of time,
changing the sound,
changing the sound.
Hip-hop.
So my thing is who else changed their sound to mimic this?
There'd be no NERD without these guys. There'd be no Roots without. You know what I mean? Like there was. I don't even think there was a jazzy hip hop sound like
You had
this.
Diggable Planets.
Yeah, there you go, Diggable Planets.
So
with their one big album. That's why that's a classic.
I mean,
All of Hyro after that.
all of Hyro.
Basses in jazz. Ron Carter playing on this.
Bro.
Like nobody was doing that. Like as soon as that first track hit. Come on, man! Like that. Come on, man!
Again, I'm not saying it's whack.
But then that bass.
But you also have to understand. When this came out, I was 6 or 7 years old.
But you're not now.
I'm not now, but I'm not. You guys still have a 1991 perspective when listening to this.
I know.
No,
we weren't that. Well, I wasn't that old.
I was 15.
God damn, kid.
Do that.
No.
You're so stupid.
You were 7. I'm laughing at you because your ass was a goddamn baby. I was fucking 15. Like, I think about that shit, right?
Yeah, no, of course. The
The reason why I bring that up, you were 13. No, yeah.
I wasn't old enough to really like process it like that.
Exactly. That's kind of where I was going. Like Kyle would be great, but Kyle's probably about 2 or 3 years older than I am.
Yeah.
So he's at a more mature space than I was when this came out. You know, so yeah, I wasn't able to kind of process and understand what was really happening. I was just listening to hip hop and the shit come on and I like it.
Of course.
In 10th grade?
Even though that you didn't understand this, right? Like you couldn't comprehend everything that was going on. You still have an attachment at the time, right? Just like
You
for
could,
me,
man. At 10th grade, you could come on, kid. Like in 10th grade, you could comprehend.
maybe not everything. No, maybe not everything.
Not like
that.
not like the way they do now, man. I don't. I was a freaking high schooler. Like I'm just trying to get with girls, listen to dope ass music, trying to get my license. I'm just a kid. Like we pass and exchanging music. I'm not sitting down like I'm not
feel
really
like I was really
critically
processing music
thinking
at
about
15,
it in that way. I guess is what I'm saying.
I think I was though at 15. Like 15, I was processing music. 10th grade.
Yeah, man. Like at 15, you're not really gonna sit down and be like, man, this is really changing the landscape of rap.
Right.
You're just gonna say, damn, this is a really good album. I like it. And you're gonna move on.
we wasn't doing that back then.
Hell no.
Like
So y'all wasn't like.
I get you with the
Okay.
process of music. I'm just talking about just from listening to hip hop. We wasn't like how they are now. We wasn't saying, oh my god, this shit is a classic. Like, we wasn't
It's not
saying
connected.
Right.
Yeah, it's not connected, and you were only listening to music when it actually came out, and you physically had to buy it or dub it off of a friend, right? Where now the accessibility of music is so much different that you can have a conversation right now, 2 months from now.
That's what
whenever.
everybody's trying to do. That's all.
No, now, exactly.
Yeah,
But
you're
what
right.
I'm saying is back then, right? Like I still have an emotional attachment to Puff Daddy and the Family because it was the first physical album I bought. And even though I wasn't critical, right, in terms of breaking down hip hop at the time, for me, exactly, it was an amazing album, and I still have a connection to it. So all I'm saying is when I'm out here saying, I listen to this late, I'm not, whatever, you guys can go back to that time and still, you don't?
No.
Well, how don't you?
No, because we weren't cognizant enough to be like, damn, this is a hard-hitting, impactful album. Back then, all it was is this shit is dope, and that's
Right, no, but you as the adult now can go back and realize what impact it had over
only
the
because
years.
there's an internet now. Like you're trying to get us to go back to when I was 12 or 13
But you can explain why this is a classic and I can't. Why is that?
because I read the internet.
Wait,
And if I know, look, when in
History, yeah.
in 1991, I did not know every rap album that came out.
I know that.
Now I do because the internet exists.
But you heard this back in the early 90s.
Around then,
Not only the
Okay.
internet, but time has elapsed.
Exactly,
So
but that's my
over
point.
time, that there
You
have been a
grew with
lot
this
of things
album.
that have happened for us to look back critically on that year.
And all
that
I'm saying
moment
is
hip-hop.
that you had a early experience with this, and because time has elapsed, you can now take all of that.
But not looking at it the way that it seems like you're suggesting. Like it was just like this shit was fucking dope, and I'm enjoying it.
No. And I'm not suggesting that at the age of 15, 16 that you guys was breaking this shit down or whatever. What the only point I'm trying to make is that you guys have is a reference point 2 or 3 years after this project, and now that you guys are older, you can look at that time lapse and be like, damn, I know how this impacted it.
right. I feel what you're saying, and I guess why I don't feel what y'all saying is because take like I don't know, like Public Enemy. You can't tell me that when you listen to Public Enemy that it wasn't like, oh man, this is impactful. Albums that we just
that
listened
came
to.
out when I was in fucking middle school. So no, I was not listening to Can't Trust It and being like, damn, this is an impactful song.
Maybe because I listened to stuff around my older cousin, then I don't know, because I knew that it was something like Self-Destruction. Like, I knew that was an important song.
Yeah, I was like 10, Rod.
But that's what I'm saying. I do, but even,
Okay, then you're a different person than me. That's all it is. You're a different
Self-destruction
person.
is different. Like we're in self-destruction and so positive. It's about. I'm not sitting down thinking about, oh wow, how does this breaks down
But I'm not even saying to that extent. I'm going by what Ralph said. Not even to that extent, but it did something. You know that was different from fucking Luke. You know what I'm saying? Like you knew that music was different from that. You knew it had a different purpose.
All I knew was they were rapping. At 10 years old, I knew they were rapping, and I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about.
We're headed for self-destruction. Makes sense to me.
But here's the thing though. Like I'm not saying that you had to like not like how you were breaking down now, because obviously you're more intelligent than you were then, right?
Right.
So that's not what I'm saying. Just for your and kind of going by, I think what he's saying, just for your age, you still had something to hold on to.
He's talking about like there is a connection to it emotionally, right? Because that's what we were listening to it. So as a teen, we were like, oh, I remember that shit was there. Like going to an old school party, and that was my jam. But outside of that, I'm not sitting down thinking at that moment like this is gonna be a classic.
No, 1,000%. Of course, we don't know that. Just like we don't know the impact that Good Kid, Mad City is gonna have 10 years from now, right? Like we don't know that. I'm not trying to force. I'm not trying to force your logic at 10 years old.
Even 15 or 25, I wasn't looking back at this shit and saying, damn, this album was impactful. So I was saying it's good. I like it.
So when did this album become a classic for y'all?
When the internet got really hot and they started labeling everything as classics.
So whoa. Let me ask you, because I know you're a big
He's like, fuck y'all motherfucker. B,
when was this album like classic for you, or you knew that, oh my god, like this is so far gone from everything else that's happening?
I mean, probably like by the time I got to like the late 90s, because then I started listening to other albums that pretty much mimic or kind of got their flavor from that album. Like me and Mike mentioned, I listened to Far Side, listened to The Roots, listen to High Road, listen to
so that's right in line with what he's saying.
Exactly. So then how at 25 you don't understand that this was a classic album? 10 years later.
Because we weren't thinking that way.
B was.
No,
He said what was
not at that time in the late 90s. The ones in the
No, at the late 90s. That's not 10 years later.
Like 98, 99, I was like, damn.
That's 10 years later.
That's 10 years
But
later.
not back then when Low End Theory first came out.
It's 8 years. Okay, fine. So you want to make my point better?
Oh my God, this shit is impactful. Like, oh my.
No, of course.
No.
It took time.
Yeah, of course it took time.
That's
all he's saying.
It took
Hey, that's B. I wasn't thinking that way at
so
all.
when did this become a classic for you?
I didn't really think about it in that way. That's what I'm saying. Right?
And I get it. What's interesting about this album, this is like, I know I had conversations with Mike and some of my other friends before. We always talk about like this and Midnight Marauders, and I'm like, well, even Adam, I talked about this with Adam. He was like, which one you pick, this or Midnight Marauders? I said, this album has more of a personal connection with me because this was like the first time I really got the chance, like, because of this album, I got a chance to really dug in my dad's album, jazz records, because every time I played a record, he was like, I got that record. I got that record. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He like, that's a jazz record. I got that. That's Grant Green. He'd go, come on in the basement. Come on in the basement. I hear that same damn sample.
Yo, nothing about this here, boy.
He's like, this is classic. This is classic right here. This is classic right here, boy.
Musically, it brought me and my dad a lot closer. So that, like, when people ask me which album I choose, I'm like, well, Low End Theory, just because it's a personal connection. And like the fact that, and this was during the time too, parents didn't really care for hip hop. No. So like, this was like the first album I was able to bump in my house loud. And my dad be like, play that again. Or like, repeat that last track or whatever. So like that, as a 9-10-year-old kid, I'm like, yo, that's fucking cool. My dad likes me bumping Low End Theory. You know what I'm saying? Because all the other stuff I used to play, my friends be like, turn it down some. I don't like all that cussing, But my dad was like, yo, you got that Low End Theory tape? Play that tape. Bring the tape down in the basement. We about to play that while we clean up and stuff. And then coming from People's Instinctive Travels, like this was Fife coming.
Fife, yep.
Yeah.
Fife.
Like
really
hearing them on Can I Kick It and Mr. Muhammad and stuff like that. And then plus he wasn't on that album that much. So then to hear him freaking come out on Bugging Out, microphone check 1 2, what is this? I was like, holy shit. I said, this dude is all. Then he had a song by himself. Butter.
Yeah.
He had his own drink off that one, which was dope as hell. My dad got that sample. He played that record for me because when it came to the hook part, I was like, yo, Dad, what's this? He was like, oh, I got that. Come here. This really took Tribe to another level. And then let's talk about that Bust Around feature. That was
stole the show basically.
That was and talk about a perfect way to close out an album. Like to have one of the considered probably top 3, top 5 best posse cuts, hip hop cuts ever.
Oh, yeah, easy.
With Scenario, you had the coming out party of Busta Rhymes with that crazy ass verse. Because Leaders of New School was like,
Yeah.
you knew about them, you heard about them,
Right.
but
They were a rap group.
they was a rap group. But when they was, man,
But Busta stood out in that group though. Like, I mean,
yeah, but not
like this, like
Not
this.
like
But
this.
you didn't know he was like a star like that.
No, I get
This was the coming out
This
party
was
for
the coming
him.
out
Like
party.
this.
And like I said, in
Yeah.
some way with Fife too, because then with Tribe coming off of Peoples, I'm sorry I keep referring back to Peoples because I'm just going off of experience, feeling
Do your
experience.
thing, my brother.
And so like coming off of that, with Low End Theory, I'm like, this is really, that really solidified them as a group because it's like you really got two dope MCs that can play off each other well.
And their voices are so different, right?
Yeah, right.
They play
'cause
off, yeah.
You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that.
Q-Tip real smooth, laid back. Fife real
Witty,
street, rugged,
yep. Yeah. And then you didn't hear that much off people. So it was like coming on Low End Theory. It was like, I was like, yo, these motherfuckers are really a dope ass fucking group now. Like it really made sense then when this shit came out. And one thing I noticed when I first listened to this was like, this was like so jazz heavy, which was so dope. So bassline influence, like so much excursions, vibes and stuff.
That's what did it for me, man.
Jazz, shout out to Pete Rock, because Pete Rock really did that beat for jazz. We got the jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I read an interview about this that I didn't know until some years later that We Got the Jazz is actually a Pete Rock beat.
I didn't know
that's
that
why
either.
That's why he shout out Pete Rock at the end of the song.
What's interesting about that is that, like, once you find out or hear the story, the origin story, now when I hear it, I'm like, well, damn, it sure does sound like a Pete Rock beat.
Right, it really does, man. And I was like, that was another song. I was like, man, these dudes are just going, they just taking it somewhere else, and I was loving it. And I love the fact that Q-Tip and Dr. Dre, they had it. This was like a competition they had because
And Q-Tip said that he got inspiration from
Straight Outta Compton, and then
which was crazy.
I didn't know that. And then Dre was like, "Well, I made the Chronic because Low End Theory, like so I love that hip hop. I want to do hip hop still have that. Like I want to do hip hop still have that like competition from like other artists and other producers.
Which if you
know
think
what I'm
about
saying?
it, the sounds are so fucking different.
That's what I'm saying. But that
like, how do you?
And people always automatically think when you say influence, it's like, oh, well, you got to sound like them. No, you can just hear something and be like, oh man, that shit's dope. I just feel like making something dope as hell because these niggas just made something crazy. But yeah, overall, man, Low End Theory was just great. And shout out to Ali Shaheed Muhammad, man, on the production as well.
Man.
Like, I don't think he gets enough credit for the landscape. He's the path he's created for Tribe, man, as far as his landscape of everything, man. So shout out to Ali Shaheed Muhammad. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Tribe, for this amazing album. I got this shit on vinyl. I wish I had my original cassette tape, man. I had.
No, you don't. That shit won't play now.
It probably won't. But I just wish I had it just for nostalgia
That shit
purposes.
be playing slow as hell.
Hell yeah. But yeah, man, this album was just so amazing to me. It was just like one of those things where I was just like, fuck, this shit is so fucking good, man. Like I fucking love Tribe. Tribe at that point was like pretty much my favorite group at that. They had surpassed EPMD at that point because it was like EPMD, but Tribe was like it. Wasn't nobody touching Tribe when this album came out. It was like Tribe, EPMD, and De La Soul. Like that was the shit right there.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to add, kid?
I was going on a tangent, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man. I think I just kind of want to go back to the dated sound.
But if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask me. Seriously.
that jazz foundation that this album have is why I think I'm having a tough time with it sounding dated. Just me. I know we had this discussion, but I guess what to you guys make it sound dated like
If this
that?
shit came out today, you'd be like, this sounds like it came out in 91.
I don't know. I don't hear that.
Damn.
I think because I was
like this.
What we talking about? I'm just talking about everything.
When I had a thing,
The production,
The drums are very, very raw.
retro.
but the bass and the music.
Stand-up bass is nice.
Right.
And I think that whoever played that bass is an unsung hero on this album. But it still sounds dated. And that's not a negative thing.
Right,
No,
it's not
I
a negative
understand,
thing.
but
I fucking love this shit. I play this
I just to hear
shit like it's.
So what does dated mean to you?
I thought we talked about this in the.
we already. I don't want to get into all that. I was just talking about getting.
No, but it's going to the point that you trying to make.
No.
Explain. I'm trying to understand
I'm asking because the to me when I again, I'm going back to the jazz foundation.
Right.
To me, like there's certain jazz that does have like a dated sound to it. Bebop, obviously, hard bop. But then there's also other parts of jazz that don't. Right. So there's other foundational elements of jazz that
grab that jazz that didn't. So.
That's what I'm hearing. Now, obviously, I'm a little bit different. Huh?
I think most good jazz sounds dated because they don't make that kind of shit no more.
They
I
don't.
think there.
And when they do, you say, "Damn, that's
That's that old school
That's that
classic
classic
shit.
old
That is
shit.
true.
I have to think about that a little bit more.
That is
but-
true. Because that's what with Theo Crocker. With Theo Crocker, it sound like that.
I don't know. Okay, cool. So.
Ken's dated, man.
All right, yeah, that's.
What was you about to say?
No. Just to add, I think one of the things the elements that I like about this is that the content, right? And I didn't know this. I just recently found this out that the lack of cursing on here was because of the Ron Carter.
Oh,
the
okay.
jazz, he was like, yeah, you guys got to tone that down, or I'm not going to play on that. I had no idea that's why it wasn't like that. The content and the things that they were talking about, because. We had Ice Cube, we had NWA,
Ice-T.
we had and these motherfuckers on here talking about date rape, talking about the show business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Industry rule number 4008.
Yes.
Like we still say that today. Like we still say that today. Industry rule.
So-
when you come up to a hip hop head and say, "What's industry rule number 4008?" and if they can't answer that shit, I don't know what the fuck is wrong.
What's the rule, Ralph?
That's not fair.
They live in a place like under a tree, you know, like where it's, you know, where it's cooler, where you're there, versus the sun hitting you directly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's deep.
All right, what you got,
I
man?
don't
Real
have nothing
quick.
to add.
Okay.
I mean, I really don't.
I feel you. I feel you.
I love this album, and we've been talking for like 3 hours.
Right.
So.
I feel you.
No disrespect to Tribe. I love y'all.
Why do you think it's a classic?
Why do I think it's a classic?
At least, yeah. Or do you think it's a classic?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a classic because I think it ushered in a brand new sound. And the thing about it is, it's like when I look back at the albums that I still love today, like y'all already know that I was obsessed with hieroglyphics. And when I look back now and I think of the beats that Domino was producing, it's clearly influenced by Ali Rashid Muhammad. And then even when you think about, because I mean, I loved the first two, or well, actually the only two, Diggable Planets albums. And when you think about, especially Blowout Comb, that's the shit. When you think about how that relates to this, I feel like these guys just came out and they gave the world something new. Again, we didn't really think about it that way then. But now that I'm in my fucking 30s and I know what the landscape of hip hop was at the time, yeah, it's just interesting that these guys were going so against the grain and creating something that was just so smooth as opposed to being hard and rough around the edges. Like these guys weren't talking about fucking bitches and shooting people. They were just rapping about just not even like silly shit, but just shit that was more relatable to the average person.
Yeah. Right.
And they were just dropping jewels that you weren't really getting from Ice-T albums. You weren't getting from Ice Cube albums. You weren't getting from Scarface albums.
Do I think this is a classic? For me personally, I personally don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't have that connection. So listening to people like B, like Mike talk about, you know, the impact, obviously years later, but how they have their personal connections, how it, like Mike just said, ushered in a new sound, how other producers and MCs were inspired by this, you know what I'm saying? And that obvious influence, it is a classic. But for me, because I don't have that connection to it once upon a time, it doesn't feel the same for me. So again, like I think overall, yes, it's a classic for the genre, but it isn't a classic for me personally.
The only thing I gotta add is that, like, I love, like, if you go to like a homecoming or like a black event with like motherfuckers that are my age or older. I just love seeing like when Check the Rhyme come on, when all those scenarios come on. Just watch, people watch, man. That shit is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
To just see the response. And
Every
at that
time.
moment, you be like, yo, this shit is classic because it shows the far-reaching aspects of the album.
Oh yeah, why is it a classic? I mean, just golly. I just want to say thank you again. This is a classic because it changed my life, changed my life with my father, and it made me appreciate the fusion of jazz and hip hop even more so than I already did at that time.